Most bird owners spend fireworks night trying to calm a bird that's already in full threat response, and that's like trying to stop a sneeze after you've already started. The part nobody tells you is that a bird's nervous system takes its cue from yours, not from the volume of the room. So what would happen if you spent 30 minutes before the first firework loading your bird's body with every calm signal it knows before there's anything to be afraid of? Last 4th of July, my cockatiel Pepper came out of that night with stress bars. If you have a bird, you know what that means. Those faint horizontal lines that cross a feather when the bird's body was under significant stress while that feather was still growing inside the follicle. I did not see them on the night. I saw them 2 weeks later when the new feathers came in. The vet looked at them and confirmed it without me having to explain anything. She just said, "This bird had a hard night sometime in the last 2 to 3 weeks. I still have the photo on my phone." The night itself had not gone quietly in our house either. Pepper started screaming around 9 p.m. when the neighbors started their backyard show. I did what most people do. I covered the cage. I turned up the television. I talked to her through the fabric in what I hoped was a calm voice, even though I was not calm. None of it helped. She was still calling at 10:30, still fluffed at 11. Did not eat properly the next morning, sat low on the perch for 3 days like she was braced for the next explosion. I had spent the entire evening managing a crisis instead of doing anything to prevent one. I want to be honest about what I had already tried before that night. I had the lavender calming spray, about $18 at the pet store, smells nice, promises a lot. I had a white noise machine running in the hallway outside her room. I had moved the cage away from the window 2 days before because I had read that helps. I had done every standard piece of advice that comes up in bird forums and comment sections. And I want to be clear about what all of that added up to in practice. Nothing. She lost her mind anyway. I lost sleep anyway. The stress bars showed up in the feathers anyway. Quick word before I go further. The old methods my family uses, there is more of it than fits in any one video. I gathered the whole of it into a book you can buy in our pinned comment below. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. It was my avian vet who finally said something that changed how I understood the whole problem. She told me that the mistake most bird owners make is that they try to calm a bird after it is already afraid. And she said, by the time your bird is screaming, you are already 20 to 40 minutes behind. That is the physiological reality. Once a bird's threat response triggers, the hormones that drive it, primarily corticosterone, which is the avian equivalent of cortisol, take that long to clear the system. You are not calming a bird in that moment. You are waiting out a biological event that has already been set in motion and cannot be shortened by covering the cage or talking softly through the bars or playing ocean sounds from a speaker in the hallway. She told me something else. She said that birds do not decide whether something is scary. They look at the flock and read the decision off the flock. If the flock is relaxed, the bird is relaxed. If one bird in the flock alarms, every bird in the flock alarms. Instantly. No deliberation, no assessment. It is a network built over millions of years of being the thing that gets hunted. And in your house, you are the flock. You are the only flock member your bird has ever known. Your bird is running a constant low-level scan of your body language, your voice register, your movement patterns, the way you breathe when you walk past the cage. Your bird knows things about your nervous system that your doctor doesn't know. So if you walk into the bird's room on fireworks night already tense and watchful, already hovering, already braced for the screaming to start, you have already communicated to your bird that something threatening is happening. Before the first firework goes off, the bird felt the alarm in you first. That is what I had been doing wrong every single year. I had been walking into that room pre-stressed and wondering why my pre-stressed bird was not calming down. The counterintuitive truth is this: the solution to a bird screaming at fireworks has almost nothing to do with the fireworks. It has to do with what you do to the bird's nervous system in the 60 minutes before the noise starts. Your goal is not silence. You cannot give them silence. Your goal is to preload the bird's body with so many calm signals from you, from the environment, from familiar routine, that when the first boom hits, the bird is starting from as far down the arousal curve as possible. A bird at baseline calm that gets startled comes back down in minutes. A bird that was already at 70% arousal because it sensed your anxiety and saw strange lights outside the window, hits the ceiling, and stays there for hours. I have done this system for 3 years. Pepper slept through most of last New Year's Eve. She stirred once when something went off very close. She resettled in under 2 minutes. No stress bars in the feathers that followed. I checked specifically because I wanted to know if this was working or if I was just telling myself a story. The first step starts at 60 minutes out. Dim the lights in the bird's room by half. Not dark, half. 1 lamp off if there are 2. Dimmer switch to the halfway point if you have one. Bright light is a neurological signal that says midday, full alert, peak activity window. Your bird's brain reads light levels all day to calibrate where it is in the daily threat cycle. Dim light starts saying evening. Evening means the threat window is closing. The predators are settling. The flock is moving toward roost. It takes 15 to 20 minutes for this signal to register in a meaningful way. Start at 60 minutes so it has done its work long before you need it. At 45 minutes out, give the bird something to forage, not a treat handed through the bars, something they have to work for. Millet spray threaded through the cage bars so they have to pull each piece free. A walnut in the shell, a small piece of food wrapped in a paper towel twisted at both ends that they have to tear open. The brand I use for this is Planet Pleasures, foraging toys in the $8 to $12 range that hold treats inside and require the bird to shred the outer layer to get to the food, but you do not need to buy anything. A crumpled piece of paper with 3 pieces of their favorite food hidden inside costs nothing and takes 45 seconds to make. Foraging activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest side, the opposite of fight or flight. This is not a metaphor. The neurological pathways that drive foraging behavior and the ones that drive threat response actively compete with each other. A bird that is working a problem is a bird that is suppressing threat arousal at a biological level. You cannot forage and panic simultaneously. Use that. At 30 minutes out, you sit near the cage. This is the contact call window, and it is the step that feels like doing nothing and is actually the most important step in the whole sequence. You are not playing with the bird. You are not training. You are not making the high-pitched, excited sounds that birds associate with stimulation and activity. You sit. You hum something low and slow. You talk quietly about nothing in particular, your voice staying in the lower half of your register. In a wild flock, birds exchange soft contact calls constantly throughout the day. Low murmurs, quiet chirps, not alarm calls, not excitement calls, just, I am here, I am not alarmed. All is well with the flock. When you sit near the cage making low, quiet sounds, you are giving your bird exactly that signal in the language it was built to receive. You are the flock leader, and the flock leader is calm. I hum something without a name, just a low, shapeless sound. It doesn't matter what you hum. The register matters, low and slow, not excited. At 15 minutes out, you do the partial cover. 3 sides of the cage, not 4. Back panel and both side panels with the front left open so your bird can see you. This is different from what most people do, which is the full cover, and the full cover is a problem because it cuts the bird off from flock contact entirely. Your bird is now alone in the dark with random explosions coming from every direction and no information about whether the flock survived whatever just happened. Partial cover reduces visual chaos, the flashing lights, the shadows, the movement outside, while keeping the safety signal, your face and your calm body visible to the bird. Use a heavy blanket, a doubled piece of fleece, or an old moving blanket. Not a thin cage cover. Low-frequency booms from fireworks travel through thin fabric with almost no reduction. A heavy double layer takes the physical edge off the sound pressure, and that matters more than people realize. At 10 minutes out, if you are going to use sound masking, place it now and place it close. Brown noise, not white noise. And within 3 feet of the cage. Not in the hallway, not on the other side of the room. Close. White noise sits in a higher frequency range and does a reasonable job masking voices and traffic, but is less effective against the deep, low-frequency boom of a fireworks shell detonating 2 streets over. Brown noise sits lower and covers that range better. Free on YouTube. Search brown noise 8 hours and you will have more options than you need. Volume should be loud enough that you have to raise your voice slightly to be clearly heard from across the room. That is the right level. Loud enough to matter, not so loud it becomes its own stressor. 5 steps, 60 minutes, dim the lights. 45 minutes, forage load. 30 minutes, contact call window. 15 minutes, partial cover. 10 minutes, brown noise close in. When the first firework goes off, your bird is already as far down the arousal curve as you can take it before the event. The bird still hears the noise. You have not created silence. You have changed the baseline. Your bird's nervous system is responding from when the sound arrives. Here is what is really at stake in the long run. Acute stress in birds is not just an unpleasant night. It is a physiological event with lasting consequences. Corticosterone is hard on a bird's body. Repeated spikes of it, year after year, suppress the immune system in measurable ways. Birds that go through high-stress events regularly are more susceptible to respiratory infections, bacterial overgrowth, and opportunistic illness. They show higher rates of feather-destructive behavior. They take longer to bounce back to full health after any illness. The connection between chronic intermittent stress and shortened lifespan in companion parrots is not speculative. Avian vets see it. The stress bars I found on Pepper were a record of 1 bad night. Imagine what the record looks like after 10 years of bad fireworks nights and bad thunderstorm nights and bad construction next door months, all adding up invisibly in the feather follicles and the immune system and the heart. The entire system I described costs almost nothing. The dim down costs nothing if you already have a lamp you can remove. The forage load costs $10 for a Planet Pleasures toy that lasts for months, or nothing if you use paper. The contact call window costs 30 minutes of sitting in a chair. The partial cover costs the price of a blanket you probably already own. The brown noise is free on YouTube. The most expensive item in the whole setup is a dimmer switch at $15 if you do not already have one. I would take that $15 and 30 minutes of deliberate preparation over any calming spray or any white noise machine in the hallway and expect better results every single time, because I have now run the comparison for 3 years and I know what the numbers look like. A calm bird on a scary night is not luck, and it is not temperament. It is preparation. Your bird did not learn to be calm on its own. You taught your own body to be calm first, specifically and deliberately, in the 30 minutes before the noise started, and your bird read the calm off you the same way it has been reading your nervous system every day since you brought it home. You are the flock. When the flock leader is calm, the flock is calm. That is the whole thing. Look up your local fireworks schedule right now if you have not already. Set a phone reminder for 60 minutes before sundown on that night. Label it dim down so you know exactly what it means when it goes off. That one reminder starts the whole sequence. You do not need to remember any of this in the moment if you start at 60 minutes and take the next step every 15 minutes. It runs on its own once it is started. Tell me in the comments what your bird does right now during fireworks. Screams, feather fluffs, flies the cage in the dark, sits low on the perch for 3 days after. I want to know where you are starting from. And when you try this, come back and tell me what changed. I read every comment and I want to hear the specific detail, not just it worked, but what was different and when you first noticed it. Next time, I am going to show you the one thing my avian vet told me to add to the cage water 48 hours before any stressful event. It costs $3 at any health food store. The difference in feather condition 3 weeks later is visible in photographs. You will want to know what it is.